Something I like to do is, these are the origins and the planes. Some tips to begin with. Here at the bottom, you'll notice there's like a string of things. That's called a family tree. At least I call it a family tree. If you want to, you can call it whatever you want. Basically, the idea is it tells you the history of this design as you start from beginning to end. So let's say you start with a sketch, and I want to go all the way back to that sketch. I can go move this marker and drag all the way back to my sketch, and it will just show my sketch, right? If I want to drag it further and see the progression of something else, I drag it further, and I can modify and edit features using this marker of family trees. I'm using a mouse, so I would recommend you getting a nice mouse before you begin. And what I use, I right click on the mouse and I click Edit Sketch when I want to modify something on these features. Very useful. Family tree. Down here to the top left of the corner, you have your views, your document settings. Right now I have millimeters. If you have it in inches, you can change it. Here, right click and change active units. Here you have your origin and your planes. If you want to view something or not, you can click on that eye looking icon to just take it off or put it on. So that's a little bit of an overview of the GUI and the layout for Fusion 360. So for that metal, we'll get started with a sketch. Choose any plane you want. It really doesn't matter which plane you choose. The orientation might be different, but if you do the steps, then you'll be solid. So I'll just make a circle. And we're working in millimeters, so I'll be making this 18 millimeters, roughly the shape of a metal. I'm just going to sketch. Whenever you make a sketch, you need to first define the plane on which you make it, and then draw it. So pretty straightforward so far. Let's see the chat. Okay, no worries. So pretty straightforward so far. We have just a sketch of the circle, and now we're going to extrude it. So one feature for SolidWorks is that you can extrude it. Same thing here. You can extrude in Fusion 360. And we click our object extrude. There's our circle. And our distance, let's say 5 millimeters. It's going to be the thickness of our metal. If you want to modify it, maybe put it down to 3 millimeters, 2 millimeters. That's fine too. How about 2 millimeters? And click OK. And so if you go ahead and look at this family tree now, you have your two features added, your sketch and your extrude. Let's say you want to go back and edit the feature. You can edit the feature here and customize the options. Taper angle, what that does is basically that you want to make it at an angle, make it thicker. And say if I drag it now, it's at an angle. The beginning sketch of what it was is at an angle to the ending sketch. You make it smaller, opposite way. There you go. That whole jazz. Different things to take notice when you do the operation. If you click join, you'll be joining this part to another part if you make one. So I'll be joining two parts together into a single part. If you click cut, you'll be cutting this profile of the circle into another part when you make one. Intersect would, as it says, make only the intersect of two parts, the end part, and new body will make the whole part a new body. So usually I like to use intersect and new body and cut. I don't usually use join, but that's up to you. And so now we have this metal and we want to trace the logo on it. So here's a feature you can use to trace the logo, and it's kind of cheating, but it's all right. It'll get the job done. We're going to go to Canvas and we're going to insert a picture of the metal, or in this case, the EMBS logo. And I'll go ahead and send this logo to you so you guys can have it and try it out. Here we go. Any questions so far? Pretty easy, right? So we have our logo, and we click a face, and there's our logo. Now we want to put this exact logo onto the face. And we can do that by making it bigger proportionally and do some clicking and dragging so it fits exactly onto it. Let's say that's good enough. If you want to make it smaller, you can go ahead and make it smaller. Let's put it like that, so we can have space for the rims and decorative stuff if you want to. If you want to do that, and it's pretty straightforward. you just put on this logo, and once you're satisfied with it, click OK. And now you have something to sketch over to guide yourself visually. So let's create sketch. And now we're going to sketch onto the logo. Start with a center diameter circle. Take it out. Fit it more or less onto the logo. Doesn't have to be exact, but that's okay. We're going to make an outer diameter circle, so we know the outer diameter is 18. Then we have a 13 diameter circle. We click sketch dimension over here to see the dimensions of the objects we make. In this case, this one is 13. Let's make it 14. And this outer rim is 18, and we'll know right there, 18. So now you guys can see the measurements of what we're working with in the sketch. And now let's say I want to make this canvas size up to the 14 millimeter diameter that I made. So I go ahead and click and drag and just modify a little bit until I get it right, or adjust it. It works if you follow along on live, but you can go ahead and try this afterwards at home. And there we go. So now comes the tedious part where you have to trace all the entire logo onto the metal. But it's pretty easy. You just create sketch, and this time you're going to create the sketch onto this inner circle. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the straight lines. See these straight lines? Pretty easy to sketch on them. Other thing you can do is get these circles, make a profile for those, and then it will be pretty easy to sketch on them. So I'm going to try that right now. This would be 13. 13 right there. 13 across this inner circle. Create some smaller circles here. There's different types of circles. You can create a center diameter 2-point circle. So for these that look more or less like 2-point circles, it's probably better if you make it the first shape 2-point and the center one center diameter. That way you don't have to estimate where the middle point is, or in this case, the center point is. You can just create it by estimating the 2 points across the circle. And see how this one is not onto the rim? It's not onto the center. Then you can just go ahead and estimate, more or less how big is it based off of the looks. So let's say you have your sketch here, and you want now all your circles to be exactly the same. As you can see, my sketches are here defined. I can click on them, make them disappear if I want to. My canvas, I only have one canvas. I can take it off, put it on. And for the bodies, I only have one body. Take it off and put it on. So as I was saying, I have these 3 circles, and I want to make them all identical. How can I do that? Here's one way I could do that. I'm still in sketch mode, so I haven't clicked finish sketch yet. And since I want to make them all equal, let's say to this size, I can go ahead and choose here. Right click on my mouse. Question?
Yeah, what about the 4th circle? There's another one.
What about the what?
The 4th circle. Are you gonna do it later? Can you zoom out?
Can you use a mouse?
Zoom out.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a 4th circle right there.
Yep, so I was getting to that. Let's say you have these 3 circles and you want them to be all identical because I made them manually. I made this one manually, I made that one manually. Let's say you want it a faster way for them to be all equal, and you want it now. So what you do is you click move and copy, and you literally click on this sketch you made, and you're going to translate it. You're going to translate it, and now you're going to get the exact copy of this circle, both circles. So I'm going to move it here, and I'm going to move it here, and look, I'm going to get it onto this 4th circle. Now I have an identical circle, and I can do the same thing for these other 2 circles, but you get the idea. Pretty easy, no? So now that I have these 4 circles, and I created a copy, I'm going to create those little lines. These lines right here, I'm going to create those. So as you can see, they go through the blue part of the rim of the canvas. and just follow along that profile. This is the part where it gets a bit tedious because you have to sketch it exactly onto the image. But in the meantime, just go ahead and ask me questions about anything in particular, past classes, SolidWorks Fusion 360 stuff. This will take like probably 3 minutes just for sketching over. Here's the other thing. You want to make your sketch defined. And what I mean by that, well, you see these sketches right now? Let me turn off this. Right now we have a 13 diameter circle and we have this outer circle rim, but we don't have this 18 diameter or this 14 diameter rim. And we want it to be on the 14 diameter rim. So once I'm done with these lines, I'm going to make a 14 diameter rim so it can be defined as there as well. This entire sketch. Cool. So let me show you a neat trick. Let's say you're doing these sketches and you say, you know what, I'm tired of making these sketches. It's getting repetitive. And I'm going to show you a pattern you can use to repeat these bottom lines since they look like rectangles, right? It's like a rectangular pattern. So let's go here and let's make just one pattern, just one line. Let's say up to there. And we'll do the same thing for this line. Let's say up to there. And it'll be a shortcut. Let's go ahead and click and highlight these two objects, these two lines we made, go to create, and go to rectangular pattern. And what does that do? It basically creates a linear pattern along a line, horizontally or vertically, of whatever object you made. In this case, it'll just be these two lines. Since you can see along this axis, these lines more or less repeat, then we can select to drag these along this axis. And look, we made a rectangular pattern of 3 or 4 equal lines. Are they exactly the same? Maybe not. That's all right. It simplifies our life a whole lot. And now you just cut yourself some time. How about that? Most of the stuff that I learned on Fusion 360, I learned on my own, like rectangular pattern, canvassing. It took me some time, but I got it. And you can learn as well. It's not that hard. Any questions so far?
No, I got it.
Better? All right.
So, like, if you wanted to do this the long way, which is like not putting the image, how tedious would that be?
Pretty tedious because you have to eyeball it. I mean, even with the image, I'm eyeballing it. There you go. But yeah, I mean, you have no reference to go with without an image.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, tracing, like sketching it, is what gives like stuff designs. I thought you had to manipulate it with like the tool that like enlarges it and stuff like that. I didn't know that.
You could, but why bother when you can do canvassing? That's just one way to go. There's just one way to go around it.
Okay, it's interesting.
So let me show you another trick that you can use. You see how these lines, even though I did some rectangular pattern, they're not exactly the same. Let's say you want exactly the same line. And you say, you know what, I'm tired. I want the exact same line. I want it to be exactly the same length. So I'm going to just draw one line here. And I'm going to go stretch it all the way over here. And then what you do is you go here to offset, and you offset this one line across the entire canvas. And look, there you go. There's your exact line. You see it now? 2 lines, the exact same length, we just moved it across.
Yeah, I see it.
So pretty cool. Now you know how to do a rectangular pattern, you know how to do a surface offset and copy and moving sketches. Afterwards, if you want to, you can go ahead with sketch dimension here and make the thickness between these 2 lines, or the spacing, identical. Let's say 0.4, because that's what seems to be the pattern here, 0.4. Let's make this 0.4 as well. Make this 0.4. Make this 0.4 as well. You see how these lines are not parallel or not perpendicular? So some things you can apply to sketches are these above. You can make them coincident, tangent, parallel, perpendicular. So in this case, I want to make this line right here parallel to this line, since that look neat. I'm going to click trim and basically trim this line and make another line and click the parallel setting. It will make this line parallel to this line, and voila, now I have 2 parallel lines. Pretty neat. And now they're both equally spaced 0.40 inches. And you can rinse and repeat this process for each one. So click sketch dimension, make them 0.40 to get that nice dimension. And this is the hardest part. The rest of it is really easy. You just need to extrude this entire sketch, and that's it. You're done with the metal. But if that's what you're all about, then no worries. You can end it there. But there's more things to be done if you want to make this look really nice. .40. All right. By the way, everyone here is biomedical, or you have some electrical engineers?
Mechanical.
Mechanical? That's good.
Biomedical.
That's good. Work on your internship, guys. Don't let that slide for the last minute. It's always good to have connections for internships and stuff. Go. And so one tip: whenever making sketches, you'll know your sketch is ready because you don't have these dots anymore. These dots basically means that your sketch somewhere along the lines might have either gaps or does not fit perfectly. So you go here with your trim and you see this, take it off. So now it's fitting perfectly. There's no overlapping dots or overlapping lines. The sketch would fit perfectly. So you know this. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, since you did SolidWorks and Fusion, which one is easier, like user friendly?
So yeah, I learned through SolidWorks. I grew up with SolidWorks. I was trained in SolidWorks since 9th grade. I stopped using it, but when I picked up Fusion 360, it's very easy to use. And the way the things are laid out is much more easy to understand, even though you can do the exact same thing on both. If you go into industry, you'll probably use SolidWorks. So if you want to just stick to industry, go ahead and focus on that. Not only that, you can get certified in SolidWorks, but I think you can also get certified in Fusion 360. So long story short, personally, I would recommend Fusion. It is the easiest for me to use, and I think in general for anyone to use, because it's just more intuitive. More intuitively thought out. But if you want to stick to SolidWorks, nothing wrong with that. It's very respectable.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, because I also heard someone who's working on cars. They told me they use Fusion 360 more than SolidWorks.
Yeah, whatever you can do in SolidWorks, you can do it on Fusion, and I would say probably easier. Easier because it's just easier to understand, easier to grasp. The layout of SolidWorks is too clunky, too confusing sometimes. Can you get it? Of course you can get it. Nothing wrong. You can totally get it. Both. You can understand both. But I think if you're starting off and you want something easy to understand, it's probably where you want to be at. You see I made this complex shape for the wave? I'm just going to offset it. I don't need to do it again. I don't want to do it again. So I'm going to offset it and copy it. Done. Now as you know, focus on these edges. See how these edges are not completely defined? Focus on the edges and just finish it. Finish the edges. There. Now it's done. So what do you know now? You know how to do surface offset for sketches. You know how to trim. You know how to use these properties for constraints to make things perpendicular. You know sketch dimension. You know how to create circles, how to copy and move sketches. And how to do rectangular patterns. How about that? And you know how to proof check your sketches so that when you extrude it, you don't have to go back and edit sketches, since you'll know everything in your sketch is defined. So yeah, is there anything particular you like to see modeled for future sessions? I know right now, probably it might be your first time for most people, and these are not things that you'll get right away. If I told you that that when I first saw this I was already making car parts and whatever, I would be lying. You need some practice for this. But after you make, I would say make 5 things on Fusion 360, and each thing has to be using a different element or a different feature. After you make 5 or 10 things, you get it. You just get it. You won't have to struggle with the parts again. You'll develop, like, what's it called, a sixth sense for things of more or less how to model it. And it comes down to calculus. In calculus, when they show you the integration and then you revolve the integration and of different profiles, it's kind of like that for most things. For most things you model in SolidWorks or in Fusion 360. So right now, what am I doing? Right now, I'm just basically going through the sketches and checking out these little dots. These little dots basically are points where my sketch could be overlapping or underlapping. And I just want to make sure everything's completely touching. These lines are touching the circle, so I don't have to go back and edit the sketch when I'm extruding. And it's not always easy to detect these points, especially since the geometry you're making is different for the metal at each point. One way to make this easier is you click coincident. It says line. I want to make this line coincident to the circle. And so if I click coincident and choosing the tip of the point of the line, I can make it coincident. Let's go ahead and try that. That's fine. So yeah, once you graduate, are you thinking about taking the FE exam or I think that's what it's called, the FE exam for mechanical? I know a lot of people, they struggle with their senior year because they have responsibilities for their project or whatever, but they also are thinking about taking that exam. And it's important, especially you want to be a certified engineer. Biomedical, don't take it though, because there's no such thing as a biomedical certified engineer.
Yeah, I thought about it, and if I have time, I'll definitely do it.
You thought about different ways to do it?
I said I thought about it, and if I have time, I'll definitely do it.
That's good. That's good to keep that planned. All right, guys. So let's see. It looks like everything is done now. We can take off this canvas, and as you can see, because of the canvas, what we have is a sketch. That's all we have left, and that's good because what we're gonna do is extrude this. So if you want to, when you have the time, you can go ahead to the sketch and you can click fillet. And basically what fillet does, I'll give you an example. You see these sharp edge? If you want to make the sharp edge shorter or rounded, then you just go ahead and click fillet. And look where it is. I made a 1.4 millimeter fillet. I made it so round, it brought it down there. So if you want to, you can make it less round. Let's make it 0.1 and see what it does. It basically rounds off the edge. But you can do that on your own time. This is just an example because we want to finish the whole thing. So let's click escape, keep our sketch, finish it. So now we have this sketch, right? And we want to extrude it. And we're going to extrude it by parts. If everything went well, then this entire extrude should be done nicely. So we're going to extrude this and basically just choose the parts. Right now I'm choosing the parts that would be the backgrounds for the metal. There you go. If you need to zoom in, it makes it so much easier for selecting the parts you want to extrude. Very annoying. But yeah, for biomedical, we don't take the FE because there's no such thing for FE. I've thought about taking the mechanical, so I'll probably do that instead. It's a nice thing to have. And you're right, it takes time. It's a what's it called, a modest investment in yourself. But hey, why not? Why not? It's the way I see it.
Sure.
How's it going? Looking good, right? So now we have our profile. We can tilt it on the side, and now we're going to extrude it. Let's say extrude it 0.50 millimeters. How does that look? And it's going to cut into this shape now. So you can see the red parts where it's cutting now into the shape. This is how it looks like. Funky, right? So we can go ahead, and this is our shape right now. We can go ahead and now bring the wave towards us. So we can do that as well. We click extrude, and we click our sketch, and we choose the wave. Where's the wave? Here's our wave, right? We want this wave to be coming towards us now. See the wave? Now the wave is done. We can click and drag it. It'll be coming towards us this time. So let's make it more or less 0.50 towards us. New body, and voila. We have our wave and we have our extrusion. Looking nice, right? Do you see these circles, these inner circles? We can go ahead and extrude those as well. So let's make one more extrusion, and we're going to cut these little circles. 0.50. In this case, negative 0.50. And they're going to be cutting into the thing, the metal. Since I missed out these two circles on the bottom, I can go back here, edit this feature. And I'm going to choose the last two at the bottom. Looks nice. So what's left? You want the metal to be like, have the letters, right? So I'm going to be showing you how to make letters, how to put letters to this metal. First thing I'm going to do is make a sketch. Make a sketch where? Make a sketch there, on this front side again. And we're going to make a circle again. This time let's make it 16. And we'll be making a line from the middle to the across the circle for each side. There you go. And here's a trick. You're going to want to cut this half circle. So now it's a half circle. And why am I doing that? Because we're going to be using something called tracing. We're going to trace the path of our words that we're going to write onto this over the sketch. So let's go ahead and here add text. Where's our text? Let's see. Text on path. Which path? That path. What text do we want to add? EMBS. Why is it so big right now? So we go ahead and change the height. Let's make this 2 millimeters. And see, now we have EMBS right there. Character spacing. Do we want to space it a little bit? All right, let's try adding it 1. What does that do? 0.1. It's just create some space in between each character. And we want to fit to the path. So that's going to be spread out. If we don't want that, that's fine. We can leave it as it is. And that gives us some options to work with. Alignment in the center. Do you want to fit it below or above the path? Let's fit it below the path. And you can just basically work with that. So you'll notice EMBS looks right now nice. It's fitted to this path, but it's not really on the center of this path. So 2 ways to go around that. You can either move this half circle, make it a little bit further outwards in diameter so it can fit, or you can make the height smaller. Make it smaller like that. That was a bit too small. So how about we make it like that? 1.5 millimeters. The font, use any font you like. I'm gonna go with, let's see. How does this one look like? Funky. Let's go with that one. So that's EMBS, and that's the path. Once you're good with it, click OK. What does that do? It basically made a sketch in the shape of a text. And that text is going to be along this path. So now when you finish your sketch, you can actually extrude this text onto the metal. We're going to extrude it inward and cut. And there's our text. Really cool. So we're close to finishing the metal. We did the text. We did the extrusions for our shape of the metal. This is how, if we take off all these sketches, this is how it looks like so far. Not bad. Is there anything you guys want to add? So you might want to add a rim if you want to. You can add a rim on this outside edge. So let's try that. It doesn't take too long, right? Add a sketch over here. Add a rim. Outer rim. 18. And inner rim. 17. So we have both rims, and you can see it there. And now let's extrude that rim. There's our rim. Let's extrude it. 1. That's too big. Then go back down. 150. Look at our nice rim. Pretty cool. So what's left? The edges right now, they're sharp. If you want to, you can go and fillet these edges and I want to fillet these on the side. And that one. Let's fillet them 0.10. So we get rounded edges. It's not everything too sharp. If you want to, you can go 0.20. It looks better that way. Now these edges are rounded. What else is missing? The handle, right? Because you want to put this metal somewhere, probably along your neck. So we're going to make a sketch. Let's see.
I have a question on it.
Yep.
Okay. So when it comes to like creating shapes and stuff, like you created a circle for this instance, since it's a metal, how would you like, so let's say if you're trying to make a shape that isn't necessarily like very like a rectangle, like doesn't have a particular shape, it's more so like kind of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like how would you make that?
Okay, so let's say you're gonna make like Flubber, right? Flubber, how does he look like? He looks terribly different. He's super odd. So what do? You go here to create form, and you're gonna make, it gives you some basic shapes to begin with: a ball, a cylinder, a box. So you add it, and you create your ball. And this basically creates a 3D model for you to play with by parts. Okay, yeah, thank you. By parts. And you can click and drag and modify each part of this model as you want. See? That's not a normal shape normally, but I can modify by parts and make it look to the shape that I want it to.
Okay.
Happy? Yeah?
I got it now.
All right, cool. So here, let's put a pin on that. Back to the metal. So we're missing this handle. We're going to create a sketch, and we're going to sketch on this now, this plane. Bring back our body. And the metal handle is going to be here. How big do you want the handle to be? Let's say 5 millimeters, 3 millimeters. All right, that's good. Make the circle, 2-point circle. There's your circle, right? Make an inner circle now. 1.5. And now let's make the handle for it. There you go, right? So we finish the sketch, and we bring up our handle, make our sketch visible, we extrude it. Nothing fancy there, just a handle. Where is it now? It's right there at the back. We're going to extrude it forward, fully, so we can, wear this metal. Let's make it a new body. How's our handle look? Pretty good, right? So we click done, and we're satisfied with that sketch. Put on some finishing touches on this now. If you want to, you can fillet this handle, make it rounded so it's a nice groove. So if you ever get an error when you fillet, it'll be red. And it'll tell you exactly where in your model you cannot fillet. So why does this occur? It occurs because you're making a mathematically larger fillet than what can be done mathematically. And at that point, you're extruding into the model more than what the computer can mathematically compute. So let's make it 0.20. You can add more fillets. So let's add another fillet there. 0.20. Starting to look really nice, right? Last one. 0.20. How's that? So there's our fillet. There's our metal. And you're looking at it and you're like, great, thanks, Alejandro. I got the metal. I can go through your printers now. But don't wait. Wait a bit. There's still one more thing to do. This looks plain. So we want to make this colorful. And I know this will probably just be done on computer. You might tell me, that's on the computer only. I can't 3D print, multiple colors. Not unless you have double extruder 3D printer. So what I want to show you, these are the material properties you can apply, and there's two ways you can apply. You can apply to bodies or components or to the faces. So what does that mean? It basically means if you have a body, so right here are bodies, body 1, body 2, body 3, body 5, right? Each one is a different body, and when you apply material to all of it, it will apply only to that body. And when you apply to a face, you can apply to a particular part of a body. Let's say I want to apply only to this front face. It might still be body 1, right? But it will be the front face of body 1. So right now I set to steel satin, and we want to basically search our library. That's what you do. You search in this library of things that you have, and you apply the material properties to it. So let's go ahead and choose metal, since usually metal has a nice look. Metal. Let's see. Paint, that's the one. Paint metal flake. So if you look at our logo, EMBS, how does it look like? It looks more or less black, yellow, and blue. So we're going to emphasize those colors. Back to our bodies, take away the canvas. Let's make this body right here. Let's make this yellow. I click and drag, and boom, done. It's yellow now. Let's say I want to make this right here, this entire thing, I want to make it black or blue. So you choose your color, click and drag, and it should be done. Right there. How about that? Starting to look nice, right? So let's say, you know what, I want a particular shade of blue. I don't want just any shade of blue. I'm tired of this blue, I want another blue. Then here's the thing. Here's the thing you can do. You can choose any other color here. Let's say silver, or let's say red. And you apply it to the thing you want to use. In this case, that, right? And you're going to decide, I want to make this light blue. So here you applied red, but you're going to double click, and you're going to change the color here to whatever you want. Whatever you want. And that will give you custom colors. So congrats, now you know how to give color properties and custom colors to metals. Repeat this for all the parts you want, all the faces. Nothing too fancy, but it looks nice, right?
It looks really nice.
So for these, stragglers, you can put the remaining colors. Let's put it there, and let's put black. This one. So you might have to download some colors. That's fine. It's part of the process. You download the color, then you can use it. And as you can see right here, the S, it got along with this. But don't worry, that's fine. It's not a big deal. If you want, you can edit that afterwards. Just move the sketch so it doesn't intersect with it. So just put in colors. Since we're already at it, let's finish this like that. And what's left of the metal? The backside, right? So we can apply what color you want to apply for that one. Any color you want. Let's choose this. How does that look on our components? So what I did there, basically I applied a color and I applied it to the entire component. So it asked me, hey, you already have some colors on this component, the ones on the front, right? These. Do you want to keep them or do you want to remove them? So in this case, kept them. Otherwise, it would change all of this in the front to yellow. So as you can see on the sides that did not fill of color, there's yellow. That's because this entire component, I turned yellow. So one more time, we're going to repeat this process for our handle, and there's your metal, guys. So what's left? You made a nice metal, you made a nice model, you gave it some nice colors, and you want to show off to your friends, hey man, I attended EMBS, I did this workshop, and now I know Fusion 360, look what I did, right? So you want to design it, you want to go from design to render. And rendering, it's going to open the studio. And on this studio, it's going to show you a more professional image of how the model you made looks like. So you know when you look at designs for cars, they make it like in this nice studio, they put some effects on it. This is what they do, guys. They make the model of the car, then they render it and make it look more professional. So you go to setup and you go to environment library. Right now we have the current environment set to sharp highlights. You can change the setting of the environment you want to work with. Grid highlight, it's up to you, totally up to you. Well, and this is subjective, whatever you think looks nice, best to you, just go with it. After a while, you'll get like an intuition for what looks nice on different metals or different materials and how the light reflects off of it. So I'm just gonna.
All right, I'll have to go because I have class in like 3 minutes.
All right. No worries, Andrew. See you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's go ahead and stick to warm highlights. Let's say we want this metal to show up like this. Then we click close and we render. It says you need to save before rendering. Of course you need to save. So you save it. It's going to be public EMBS metal. So it's our first project. So you save it, and what does that do? It basically allows you to render it. All right, so now it's saved. It's going to open these render settings, and it's going to ask you, hey, do you want to render with the final professional touch or just a standard touch? You're just going to create a standard image. Don't worry about the final touch unless you're working professionally in that. You'll still get a nice image anyway, and you're going to click render. So what does that do? It's going to send it to the cloud for Autodesk, since Autodesk is the parent company for this entire application, and it's going to basically do your render. When it's done, it's going to appear down here, and it's going to show you the image 10 minutes later. Hey, your rendering looks like this. In the meantime, what you could do is go here to capture image, and it's going to capture what you currently have on your workspace. Questions? So that's pretty much the end of this workshop, but I hope you learned something. And if you ever want a particular topic, let me know.